Welcome to episode 295 of In Touch by iOS, this show that talks about iPhone, iPad, Apple Watch, Apple TV, and related technologies. I'm your host, Dave Ginsburg, and I'm so glad Guy Serle is back on the show. How you doing, Guy? We missed you last week, but I'm glad you're back today.
Thank you. Yeah. When I nap hard.
And didn't I call it? I said he was probably napping. That's okay.
That's exactly what you said.
Yeah. Good to be here, though.
I'm so glad you're here. Yes, we're happy.
The sleep, it paid off because you look beautiful.
You do. It's that glimmer.
I feel so pretty.
So glimmer. But
welcome to In Touch Asleep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that voice was Ben Roethig. Thanks. How you doing? Glad you're here.
I am great, Dave.
Glad to hear it.
Weird weather, to say the least, but...
Yes, it was. There was some wacky weather in this Midwest, we call. And last but certainly not least, Jeff Gamet is here. How you doing, Jeff?
I'm doing all right. It's always, I know I say it all the time, but it's true. It's always just great to get to hang out with you and Ben and Guy too. Sure.
Yeah, why not?
No, it's always great to hang out with all of you guys, and we always have a great time because we're here to do the show. There's all kinds of great stuff this week. Some topics. We have something about an Apple Card. We got beta. We got a unboxing I'm going to be doing a little later in the show. None of the panelists know what it is yet, and I'm going to do that a little later. But let's go right to the topics. And looks like beta this week. iOS 17.4 is in the release candidate mode. They released it for all versions of an iOS, iPad OS, TV OS, and Watch OS. It's all out. And this is the seeded candidate, and it looks like it's pretty imminent. We're going into March that it's going to get probably released to the public. I would anticipate next week. We've talked about all kinds of the fun things that have been released on it, including the Apple Podcast transcripts, emoji changes, bug fixes, and all kinds of other stuff. What's it looking like, Ben, on your phone this week?
Yeah, I'm up to the release candidate. And if anybody's wondering why iOS and iPad OS are release candidate and everything else is in a next beta, well, it's probably not quite ready yet, but the EU deadline of March 6th is the EU deadline of March 6th.
That is true. So we could anticipate.
That's fast approaching.
That we can anticipate that. Maybe they'd release it a few days before that, next week as we record. Because this is the February 29th. We are in a leap year this year. So it's as we record. So we're going to be right into March starting tomorrow. And I would anticipate next week. Apple's usually good at doing Monday, Tuesday releases. So
yeah, I was going to say like a Tuesday.
Yeah. So it's going to be full of bug fixes. We got an article here on 95Mac just kind of going through some of the bug fixes. I will obviously get most of the details once it's officially released. One number of them are going to have things like stolen device protection now supports the option of increasing security in all locations. Battery health settings will show the battery cycle count, the manufacture date, and first use on the iPhone 15 and 15 Pro models. I like that. I mean, that's interesting to see what that goes. And a number of other things here. I'm not going to go through all these, but there was an issue with the dual SIM. Users, when the phone numbers change from primary to secondary, and it is visible to a group that they have messaged. So I guess I will fall into that since I do have a second line in my iPhone. But I think we're pretty much going to expect it next week. Still not doing it on the iPad, Jeff?
I have to figure out where the charger for this iPad
You still haven't found it.
No. And, I could just buy a new charger. That's not the point.
Yeah.
The point is I have so many that I can use on this iPad. I just can't figure out where they are.
Yeah. But
any of them at all?
Yeah.
They're all gone.
They're all over there somewhere.
They're somewhere. So, yep. So that's a lot of things that are going out next week. We'll see where it goes with beta. Take a look at some of the bug fixes we're talking about here. So let's move on to the next topic. This has been kind of a hot story this week. The Apple Car project was scrapped. It was canceled by Apple, and they did spend quite a bit of money, as we're finding out as we record this the article here in Mac Rumors saying that Apple may have spent more than $10 billion on the Apple Car project before they canceled it. And while they did spend $10 billion, over the last decade, this is a report actually in the New York Times. That's a pretty credible source here that details the issues with the project faced during development. Apple first launched it in 2014 and let it flounder for more than a decade before just killing it this week. Money was spent on research and development, along with thousands of Apple engineers and car experts that worked on the project. Some employees with Apple are said to have suspected that the endeavor was likely going to fail from the beginning, and referred to the car as the Titanic disaster instead of Project Titan. I like that. Tim Cook had signed off on the project, but members of the car team knew that it was going to be close to impossible. An electric vehicle with self-driving capabilities would need to cost at least $100,000, and it would have razor-thin margins and stiff competition. And Apple's not known to be doing anything with razor-thin margins, as we well know. So, what do you think, Ben? Where did it fail? I just don't think this was like they said. This wasn't something that was going to happen. I was very skeptical from the beginning. How about you?
Yeah, I think the answers lie within the headline for that New York Times article.
Yeah.
Apple wanted to move past the traditional car model. They wanted to go to something innovative, something voice controlled. And we're at a point where between laws and technology, that just can't happen right now.
Yep. Oh, yep. I would agree with that thought. What do you think, Guy? You doing Guy's daily drive? Would you have driven an Apple car?
Well, sure, it would have made that a lot easier to do. I could just concentrate completely on my content. I am still not convinced that they were at all serious about making a car.
Yeah.
I don't care what anybody says. There was absolutely nothing concrete that showed that they were making a car. And when you consider, all of these other companies, Lucid and, well, not so much Tesla, I guess they're one of the few, again, quotes, success stories out there in new car startups. It just didn't seem to me that they were really serious about it. I think that what a lot of people have said is that they were using it as a way to develop some new technology, whether that was AI or whether that was like stuff that they wanted to maybe license out to other actual car manufacturers. I mean, who knows? But I don't think that for, this was like, who was it that kept saying that Apple was going to create a TV? And that went on for years.
Gene Munster.
Yeah.
Who has been quoted here as well.
Yep.
Yeah. And I'm sorry, how many TVs did Apple actually sell? How many did they actually release again?
None.
None. So I think the car was along those same lines. At most they may have built a couple of them to use for updating Apple Maps and have them drive around town, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think that they were ever really serious about making a car.
Yeah, agree.
Yeah, honestly, I think I would be surprised if they even got to the point where they actually made their own vehicle. It was just interface.
Yeah, they're slapping their tech into other people's cars
Or simulators.
All right, Jeff, how about you? I know you have a hypothesis on this one.
I don't know why you would think that. I think Apple was more serious about producing a car than Guy thinks. Although I think Apple was giving themselves an out with the project. So if it didn't pan out, they knew they were getting technologies out of this, and AI is one of the things that Tim Cook said that the car project was for, without straight up saying we're making a car.
Yep.
I think ultimately what happened was that as the project continued, they realized that the end goal for the car was a moving target. And it was a moving target that as the years went by, it made less sense to continue to try and pursue that target. And I've been thinking about it over the past few days, which why would I bother just spending my time ruminating on this? Whatever. I think another problem is that they didn't have a manufacturer partner lined up. And without that, it doesn't matter how well designed your car is and how far in the process it is to being ready to actually be manufactured. If you don't have the partner to build it for you, then you're not making a car.
Yeah.
So I think we hit the point where Apple was like, we've got all these other technologies that have come out of Project Titanic, and we realize at this point we're never going to reasonably reach that end goal of a car. Certainly not the car that they would want to make. So instead of just leaning into sunk cost fallacy, they decided to cut the losses and move on, which I'm happy about, because that means maybe these people that are working on all these AI technologies, they can now focus on just that. And maybe Siri can get better.
Yeah. We got people in the chat this week at youtube.com/intouchwithios. Actually, you could go ahead and you tell us your comment, Ben, about you wouldn't be surprised that the CarPlay came from Project Titan.
Yeah. Or at least the new version of CarPlay, because it does seem like one of those where it's designed for a full vehicle.
Mm-hmm.
And they probably just took the interface and repackaged it for uses with the head units with car manufacturers.
That seems totally plausible.
Absolutely. And we'll also welcome Cletus. To see you in the chat this week. Good. Thanks for being here. But there were some other interesting things that was said about Apple Car. There's a good article here talking about the Apple Car's history. I didn't even know there is a history. I mean, they really go through it. There's never been an existing of a car. I mean, so they're going from all the 10 years. I don't need to go through all that, but take a look at that article. I thought that was interesting. That there was also an interesting article that 9 to 5 Mac reported that in the New York Times that the Apple had held talks with Elon Musk about buying Tesla and planned to use Siri instead of a steering wheel for Apple Car. But this came from the New York Times, which is kind of a credible source, if I would say so.
Well, I don't
but
think
maybe not
in this case.
But why would
not in this case.
Okay, talk about Apple being in negotiations, or at least discussing with Tesla doing an acquisition. I remember several years ago that was a thing people were talking about, and it was straight up denied by, I think, both companies.
Right.
Well, they're going to deny unless something they're ready to announce.
Yeah. So, but still, I mean, both companies denying that this is going on. And then Siri instead of a steering wheel. Okay.
Yeah.
I feel really safe.
Well, I mean, Ben hit it just a couple minutes ago when you said that there's laws and regulations that Apple has to comply with. No steering wheel. That doesn't fit with current car regulations in the United States. So
that is true.
That was not going to happen.
Yeah.
It was going to be a hockey puck steering wheel that you have to turn upside down to charge.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Right.
Yeah, that's right.
But that's where the big problem is. Apple was concerned that people were going to complain about scratched roofs on their car every time they had to flip it over to charge it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I could see Apple and Elon Musk.
G4.
I could see Apple and Elon Musk having common ground on what they want a car to be in the future. I just think for both parties, what they want is just a little bit too far in the future.
Yeah, that would make sense. So, but Tesla was the dominant force in electric cars, but they've kind of fallen off a little grace here because I was very surprised. Tesla never participated in any auto shows, across the country. You had the LA Auto Show and the New York Auto Show and all the Detroit Auto Show for that matter, and the Chicago Auto Show. And for the very first time this year, the Tesla actually had a presence at the Chicago Auto Show. Chicago Auto Show is one of the biggest auto shows in the country. So that just tells you that Tesla is really starting to worry that all these other electric car manufacturers of the big three that are doing them it's a tough market because now you have everybody in it.
Well, not only that, but it's I think it's a smaller market than all of them anticipated.
Yes.
I don't think that. I mean, a lot of these electric cars are just not ready for prime time.
Don't have the distance.
And and that's the biggest part of it right there. I want to go to Florida. Well, I gotta kind of incorporate another 2 to 3 hours just for charging the car 2 or 3 times.
And finding a charging station, sometimes they're not working.
Yeah.
I mean, plus, Tesla is a company that for the better part of a decade went without competition.
Exactly.
Well, now they have a lot of credible competition.
And the Chinese are getting involved.
Yeah.
Yep.
And we kind of went over this a little bit on Mac Voices on Tuesday night.
Yep.
But the one thing that I found interesting, and I didn't bring it up on Mac Voices, is the hard push by the Chinese to get into Africa for basic resources. Yeah. And they're pushing hard. I mean, they're building multi-billion dollar railroads. There's one from Dar es Salaam to Mombasa in Tanzania. They're putting in a lot of railroads in Kenya. And so far, most of the stuff they're doing, I think, is on the east coast of Africa, probably because the west coast of Africa right now is a mess. Right. There's so much stuff going on that's just not good in the west coast of Africa that they seem to be putting a lot of their resources into getting some friends that have lots of natural resources on the east coast of Africa.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. So definitely interesting. I must say, I say they're moving on. The Vision Pro has been taking some domination as far as new product, and I think they're pretty focused on that as well. A lot of press for sure. I think it's starting to tail off. We might. I just first time I mentioned it today, and I don't think we'll even talk much about it because the excitement has kind of dwindled on that. So we won't even be talking about an Apple car next week or probably for a long time, if ever. So I think it's kind of dead, honestly.
Ran out of gas.
Yep, just there you go. Nice one. I saw that. So there's a lot of rumors that it's almost a given that Apple's going to release new iPads finally. They didn't do any releases of iPads in 2023, so they are working on new versions of the iPad Pro, and they say it's going to probably release it sometime in March. And as much as we don't dabble in rumors, some of this story seemed to be kind of creditable to me anyway. They're going to do a refresh, and I think it's going to be. They're saying it's going to mark the biggest design update to the Pro lineup since 2018. Apple is transitioning to OLED displays and swapping, and the swap will allow for a major change in overall thickness of the device. There were some CAD drawings that were found, and said that the upcoming 11-inch and 13-inch iPad Pro models will give us some insight on how thin the tablet will be. So they're showing some dimensions here, what it's going to be like, and then I'm going to go through some of these things. And again, it's a 13-inch iPad Pro, so you're getting another 0.1 inch of a screen space here. So, and then go through some dimensions, sizes, and stuff. So I think it's imminent that we're going to get new iPads. It's just that's the first time I've really seen them actually have CAD drawings and talking about the exact dimensions of something. Obviously, they got leaked. What do you think, Joe?
Yeah. Of course, we're getting new iPads, and spring makes sense because that's a window when Apple typically introduces iPads on years where we get them. Seeing the CAD drawings, well, okay. I mean, they look plausible, but to be fair, it doesn't take much for people to generate CAD drawings.
True.
Yeah.
So I will take this with a hefty grain of salt until I actually see what Apple is introducing. Increasing the screen size on the 12.9 inch, that seems totally plausible to me.
Sure.
Because they can make the bezel just a little bit smaller, and there you go.
There you go. How about you, Guy? What do you think?
Honestly, I just bought an M1 iPad not long after they came out,
That's why I have to.
and it's been a great device. And I look at it the same way I kind of look at my iPhone. I'm still on an iPhone 13 because the iPhone 13 was an awesome phone.
It works for you.
And there has not yet been an update big enough for me to replace the phone. So where's my incentive for replacing my M1 iPad? I just don't see it. For a 0.1 inch difference in a screen, and maybe it's a little bit faster. Well, what I'm using my iPad for now, it can't. It's not stretching it in any stretch of the imagination. Now, if they had gone to a 14-inch screen, okay, well, that's a big change right there, and
Sure.
maybe I would have liked a little bit more real estate. But for a 0.1 inch increase in screen, assuming that all of this stuff is actual reality, just doesn't do it for me. And Apple is kind of to blame for the lack of iPad sales, not because it's not a great device, but people get one and they find out that 2, 3, 4, 5 years later, everything that they use an iPad for, the one they have, is still working great.
Yep.
Same thing with the phones.
Your inability to find a valid reason to upgrade from your M1, totally get it. I don't even have an M series iPad Pro. It is a USB-C model, and I still haven't been able to justify replacing it.
Yeah.
And this model, depending on the features, might be when it's time for me to look at it, because then I can start doing things like hover with an Apple Pencil. But overall, I cannot find a valid reason to today to replace my iPad Pro, even though it doesn't have an M processor in it.
Yeah.
Yep.
I had a 2018 and I struggled. I mean, I went ahead and bought one, but I didn't need to replace that.
Nope, I
do video editing on mine.
Yeah, I did. I was doing podcasts in 2014, including video editing on an iPad. I didn't even take a laptop with me to the very last Macworld Expo.
Yep.
A great experiment. It took me 2 to 3 times as long as it would have been on a regular Mac laptop, but I was able to do it.
Mm-hmm.
All right, how about let's get you in bed. Let's get you in bed. What do you think?
I find these completely plausible because we are most likely weeks away from the launch of these.
Mm-hmm.
How many weeks is up for debate? And the only people that win on that debate are Apple.
Yep.
But most likely, well-known case makers already have the dimensions. When essentially those are leaked to Chinese factories, well, those dimensions tend to get out to not as high-end case makers. So usually the first thing to get leaked on any new Apple model or any new model whatsoever is the actual physical dimensions of the device.
Yep. No, that totally makes sense. So it's going to be interesting. We'll see what goes. Next story here, actually, this topic I wanted to, we just found out about this today as we record this. This was MacPaw, which we love MacPaw, our Ukrainian-based company. Love supporting them, supporting what's everything that's going on in Ukraine. But they make some amazing applications, and SetApp is, I think, all of us on the panel, it's our favorite platform to be able to get a lot of great Mac apps in one place and do that. Do you, Guy? Do you have a SetApp app subscription?
Actually, no, I don't. I have a relatively low application count on the stuff that I do, but it's like, well, how many different video editors do I need? How many different digital audio workstations do I need?
Yeah.
I've got a set number of apps that that I use to do the work that I do, and it all works great. And I've looked at some of the apps in SetApps, and the subscription fee just wasn't worth it for me to get access to apps that I probably won't use.
Okay. I know the rest of us have it, but this is kind of exciting, even though it's only going to be in the EU. They announced an upcoming beta version of SetApp Mobile, and then this is going to lead their way towards a more user-centric apps ecosystem. And so this was a press release, and as we said, SetApp's been the first subscription-based platform offering curated collection of Mac and iOS apps for users, and they do a very good job here in the different app categories. And the beta version is going to include things like productivity and business tools, creative design and software, lifestyle and productivity, utility apps, and specialty professional tools. So it's just definitely interesting to see where this goes. Obviously, we're not going to be able to access this in the United States because this is something that's going into the alternate app stores for the EU. What do you think, Ben, on this?
I think this is exactly the type of thing that will enhance iOS in the EU. MacPaw is a very trusted company.
Yes.
That themselves makes exceptional products and takes a lot of good care to come up with partner products for the SetApp for Mac.
Yeah.
Honestly, this is the kind of company that kind of goes directly opposite of the narrative that these alternate app stores are inherently unsafe.
Yeah.
Because this is the model of how it should work.
Yeah, I think it is. It's just, fortunately, I'd be interesting to see if anything happens in the US after this is all out, and maybe Apple reconsiders. I doubt it. What do you think, Jeff, on this?
Yeah, I'm with Ben. This is the company to look to for a legit EU alternative to Apple's App Store.
Mm-hmm.
MacPaw has a solid reputation. Now, as far as will we ever see something like this in the United States, I think eventually, yes.
Yeah.
I think, I'm sorry, go ahead. I didn't mean to interrupt.
I will wrap up super fast so that you don't lose your thought. I think it's inevitable that eventually we will see changes that push Apple to make the change on their own or to do it through governments forcing them.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, go
ahead, Guy.
Okay, no, I'm trying to grab that thought. Where did it go? I think the big difference between a lot of the alternate app stores and what MacPaw wants to do is that with SetApp, you're basically paying one fee per month for access to all of these different apps. So it's not like you're having to say, okay, well, I'm going to spend a little bit of money here and get this app, and I'm going to spend a little bit of money there and get this app. It's basically like, okay, you give us, 20, 25 euros, whatever it is per month, and you can pick and choose between all of these different apps, install them, delete them, do whatever you want with them. It doesn't matter. And you're not going to be charged an extra dime for each one of these apps that you decide to use. And I think that's the big difference between what MacPaw is trying to do with SetApp and all of these different stores, including ones like Epic and so many of the other ones that basically they're going to try to nickel and dime you to death. And if they can get you to download useless apps that don't only cost 99 cents, well, that's 98 cents that goes into their pockets.
Yeah. That makes sense. That makes sense. So, all right. Now I'm going to move on to an unboxing.
I've been looking forward to this.
You guys don't even know what it is.
I know.
Is it a good thing we're all sitting down?
Yes. I think it is. Well,
yeah.
I know Ben's going to look at
cereal.
I know Ben's going to like this, but I'm going to bring it up on the.
Yeah, I think Dave's also going to use this as his cool thing tomorrow.
If I'm on the show, you already did this cool thing.
Oh, nice.
This is the Belkin. As for people listening, the auto tracking stand pro with DockKit. Ben, you actually recommended this on the Mac Show last week, and I bought it, and actually got a really good discount on it because I found like a 15% coupon and it was free shipping. So it just arrived like literally. I just got it like about 2 hours ago, so I haven't even looked at it yet. So going to do an unboxing
that
here.
must have been driving you crazy.
It was. I had to open it, but I wanted to open it. But so we'll unbox it here on camera. But this is supposed to be a real cool thing. This is the DockKit, but I didn't even know that DockKit existed. Did you guys? Did you?
Yeah, it was in WWDC.
It was okay. So there's much to this. It looks like it. I mean, this is the stand here, and all you have to do is it's got NFC, and you put the phone down to it, and NFC will connect to it, and this thing is going to follow you around like it just moves back and forth and follows you. I don't know if it's
like
charged yet.
360.
Yeah, 360. I don't know if this thing's charged yet or not. So, but I could get lucky. So it just goes down and it charges it. Then you're going to put your phone, right in front of this to get it to sense it from the NFC here. I don't know if this is going to crash and burn, but I think you could do that. So I won't be able to get it to work, but I think this is going to be a cool thing. So, what's that? Go ahead.
What is that little round thing at the top? Is that a charging?
That's MagSafe.
That's MagSafe. So then the phone is going to go on to the MagSafe device like this, and then the phone follows you around like with the camera. So this is basically like an auto tuning moving into the device, so it'll move with you. So it's the base spins and it'll connect, and then
nice.
It goes right from that. So
it goes right to Bing.
It goes to Bing when I tap. Is that I tap Bing? Yeah. So it's $179. Again, I just got it, so I haven't been able to do too much with it yet. And right now, doing it live here, it's going to be hard to get it to sync because I'll have to hold it up and all that fun stuff. But I'm looking forward to checking it out. And really, what the goal of this item, what this is for, is the fact to have an auto tracking camera that's going to track with you, and it's a real easy way to do FaceTime, do some action-packed videos. You can go hands-free with live streaming. So that's where it's going to come into as content creators. We can use this stand really easily. It's a really, really cool. I think it wasn't too terribly expensive. Like I said, about $179. You get it directly through Belkin's website. They got a demo on here. If you go to the site here, and I'll put the link in the show notes here, and you just tap it, and no app is required. It just uses the DockKit. So this is the very first product that I'm aware of, anyway. Unless Ben, I don't know if you recall anything as far as any other devices out there. But
I think we lost Ben.
Did we lose Ben?
I think we lost his image.
Oh, he stepped away. Sorry, I wasn't looking at the Zoom. So what do you think of this, Jeff? Is this something you might want to use?
I want to try it first, but yes, I think this is something that I could use. I occasionally make videos, and it would give me an interesting way to be able to add more compelling shots to the videos that I make.
Yeah.
So I want to experience, so I'll do this vicariously through you, how well it actually tracks. So I look forward to your report. Yeah, we'll definitely do a report once I use it for a week and see where it does it. Oh, there we go. See, if you see it on the camera there, it says tracking dock. There it is, right there. And that's so cool. It's looking for the accessory, and it's giving me the option to connect. I click connect.
That's a device that is going to get more and more useful as iPhone front cameras get better.
Yeah. So it does take a first time use. It does take a few minutes to actually go through and completing the configuration of the accessory for the first time. Oh, it's done. So now. So it doesn't take that long. I thought it said taking a few minutes, and I guess I was wrong. So now I have to see if it actually works. And I think you have to open up the camera.
So it's already lying.
Oh my God, it worked.
It's tracking. That's awesome. Move it around.
Yeah. Oh yeah. There it is there. And I stood in front of it, and if I move around, it moves with me. So I'll have it on the stand here. Let me see. Yep. It's moving around. It's just using the camera to track me. That's very cool. Yeah. So it's going to be interesting to see how it plays out. Again, for some content creation, I think this is going to be great. Now I can do some more hands-on in front of a camera and toggle between cameras, not having the camera up on my screen like we use now, and doing product demonstrations. And you can use the front or the rear-facing cameras. So which is cool. It just spins around. So check it out. Got the link in the show notes. That was my unboxing. I thought everybody would get a little excited about that.
That was really cool.
So good stuff. So let's there was one thing I want to talk a little bit about was AI. Where is Apple going to be with AI? And is it something that we really should be thinking about as far as what AI does for Apple? What really caught my my eye this week is because I'm actually doing some testing at work with AI using Microsoft 365 and CoPilot, and I just got access to it today, and it's just so cool because one of the cool things that CoPilot has that integrates with Microsoft 365 is it has this thing called coaching. So when you open up an email, it's integrated into Outlook, and then what it does is it allows you to enable the coaching feature through CoPilot, and it'll actually go and scan through and coach you to see what would be the best way to reply to the email. And it'll also scan and look at what reply you did, and it'll tell you what tone you used, as well as it'll suggest what it thinks you could change it to make it more business professional. So, and this is obviously the business version of CoPilot, so it's going to make things focus on that. So, and just like when you use CoPilot, you type in, I've mentioned that before. I think I have. When I've wanted to do, let's say, a presentation on OneDrive, I type in, create me an outline on OneDrive for Business and I want to do it for 30 minutes and tell me, and we want to really focus on tips. And it'll just go through and give you step by step, and it'll tell you what you should talk about, and it gives you just some amazingly great ideas. I know many of us here have used whether it be ChatGPT or Copilot, Bing.com/chat is another place you can go, as well as you can use the Copilot for Microsoft, the free version. You don't have to pay for it, but they're charging a pretty good amount of money for this service. If you want to get more of the advanced features, especially Copilot, I think on the consumer side, it's like $20 a month. So that's a pretty good amount of money it has to be pretty serious with this stuff. Guy, have you dabbled in anything with AI yet? Have you tried open ChatGPT or any of this stuff?
Yeah, I have played around with it a little bit. My experiences with it were not all that great. I think a lot of it just had to do more with I have enough trouble keeping myself intelligent rather than just trying to push some coherent thought onto something else. And I think it was more like ChatGPT was like, I have no idea what this person wants, but it seems to be revolved around microphones. So what I would actually use some of this stuff for, I'm not even sure. But I look at a lot of the AI that's been going on for the last 3 to 4 years, and a lot of it just seems to be hype. Mm-hmm. So we'll see where it goes and whether it's going to be worth the investment that all these companies are putting into it. But again, this isn't really AI. It's machine learning. And so I'm just kind of withholding judgment until I can find a use case for it for myself, I guess.
So Apple is doing a lot of internal testing and development. And Tim Cook did confirm they are looking at AI. They have to at this point. I mean, every other company, Google, Amazon, Microsoft, all the big players are already really getting heavily into it. So as I just described previous here, so they're doing something called the engineers have been referring to as Apple GPT. Of course, they wouldn't want to ever use that naming for a consumer product, but they're just doing that as an internal thing here. And then they're also mentioning this article in Mac Rumors, 95 Mac Rumors, that's asking for Apple support. Ask for Apple support advisors. They're testing a AI tool like that. AI for Siri. I wonder how that really will be something that will work well, because S Lady is, not the greatest when it comes to things, as it needs some pretty vast improvements. And one interesting thing is, and I think most companies are doing this these days, is third-party AI is banned at Apple. So Apple employees cannot use ChatGPT or GitHub or CoPilot or any other AI tools, because Apple is concerned, like any company, that it could be leaking out confidential company data.
That's a smart move.
And I think that's a smart. I mean, who I work for is the same thing. You'll have people companies will create sandboxes. They could they could work within the four walls of the company and not be concerned that you're putting in company information and potentially leaking anything out that you shouldn't be.
Well, if you put company information into ChatGPT, you were leaking company information.
Yeah, anything. Right.
Yeah.
And that's because ChatGPT and other similar LLMs, part of the agreement that you probably don't remember agreeing to, says that all the content that you put in stays in and is used as part of future training.
Right.
Which means that anything you put in could potentially be regurgitated out to someone else. I don't use these tools for work because I can't not have content that I'm creating for any of my clients going out as part of a training model. There, non-disclosure agreements. I can't do that.
Yeah, you should do that.
Not that I would want to generate a whole article using ChatGPT. That said, people are continually talking about Apple needing to get into AI without realizing Apple has been very deep in AI for a long time, and you're using it on a daily basis if you have an iPhone.
Yeah,
go ahead. Offer up the examples I was about to do, please.
Yeah, like Guy just said, it's called ML from Apple. And they literally have cores built to power this right into every A, M, and S series processor.
Right. Yeah. All those cool things that you do with photos in the Photos app, that's AI and ML that's making that happen.
Yep.
And the whole thing with your iPhone learning your routine and suggesting apps when it thinks, oh, this is a thing you're going to do, learning your schedules, so it can anticipate and tell you, hey, you usually leave for work now, traffic's bad, you should leave earlier. It's all part of making sure that guy's daily drive happens when it should.
Exactly.
Holla.
Yeah. Now, what Apple hasn't been doing publicly is the flashy, broken stuff that we're seeing from OpenAI, from Google, from Microsoft, where you get the really bad generative language content that just gets dumped out. And that's not AI. That's a large language model, a mathematic algorithm predicting what the next most likely word is going to be based on a prompt that you gave it. That's not AI. And there are ways, however, to incorporate what you're doing with an LLM into an AI model that potentially could enhance other things that you do. So we'll see what Apple does, but I mean, Apple has been very deep in this for a long time.
Right.
And we already know that Apple has AI tools that are out there in the public domain. And companies are using the AI resources that Apple's making, including Google. So Apple is putting stuff out there, letting all of the other people get egg on their face while they use this stuff and they're refining what they're doing so that hopefully when Apple drops their next big AI thing on us, that it won't be just a crap storm.
Another one.
Yeah. So yes, it'll definitely be interesting. You get the last word there, Ben.
I think come WWDC, we're probably going to see number one, basically an Apple Sherlock version of Grammarly, and two, And I think they're probably going to use this exact name because of kind of the way to carry Siri with AI.
Yep.
I would love to see an Apple Sherlock of Grammarly. I mean, Grammarly, it's a very useful tool.
I use it.
Yeah.
The problem I have with Grammarly is this, well, there's a couple of problems. It will make changes that are wrong. And it also will hold on to your content and use it for learning. So anything you're doing that is proprietary under a non-disclosure agreement, potentially that could be in conflict with using Grammarly. So check with your employer and make sure it's actually safe to use.
Yep, for sure. All right, let's go ahead and move on to the news of this week. I have a couple of news stories. This first story is about actually the Apple shareholders meeting that they had, the annual shareholders meeting that they had this past week. And it concluded with a support for all its proposals and rejection of shareholder proposals despite controversies and disagreements. It they had to meet through it, and I think the biggest thing that stood out was the fact of a couple of the board members, including Al Gore, had to step aside because of their age. So that happened to do as well. They did talk about the reported use of AI. So Apple CEO Tim Cook had to review that, and I think overall they had a pretty good shareholders meeting, and I think the shareholders are fine. The stock's been holding pretty steady. It's been going up and down for the last couple of days, but much else to say about this other than it seems like things are okay with this, right? Let's go ahead and move on to the next story here, which is Apple ID. It could be rebranded to Apple Account later this year. Apple appears to be gearing up for a major rebrand of its well-known Apple ID with plans to rename it Apple Account. Sources familiar with Apple's work here, this was in Mac Rumors, that they told them that Apple is experimenting with the new Apple Account name, which could be introduced as soon as this year. An Apple ID is, of course, the account that allows you to use to access all kinds of services like iCloud and App Store and all that fun stuff. And rebranding of it is going to be interesting to see how they do this. They've done this kind of rebrandings before. You know what? The biggest complaint I have about Apple IDs is us. Darn you, Apple, that we have two Apple ID accounts and we can't merge them.
Right?
Yeah. And the same thing with like a lot of the services, photos and music and TV and all the rest of that. You can bring people in, but you can't each have your own stuff and say, oh, okay, I want to watch, our two accounts, even though they're not merged, we're a couple, we're a married couple or whatever.
Right.
So right now we want to watch Power Rangers. And then when Power Rangers are over on my wife's account, we want to watch Great Expectations on my account, or, mix and match however you want to go with it.
Kind of fascinating that that's where you went with both the shows.
Yeah, I know. I was kind of like to see Power Rangers, Great Expectations. All right, we'll go with that. But there's a lot of things that Apple's ID with their very own services just does not do very well. But on the same token, there's really not much else that's out there that's much better. So when you consider that Apple holds on to your information and keeps damn near all of it private somehow in this day and age, I'll stick with Apple, even though it doesn't always do everything I want it to.
Yep. What do you think, Ben?
I mean, even if nothing changes, I mean, how many people colloquially call this their Apple account anyway?
Yeah.
True. It is kind of fitting. So
I'd rather Apple spent the money on actually fixing their antiquated and clearly very broken account system as opposed to putting the money into rebranding. That's just me.
Well, that way you feel better about it.
You would feel better.
Still broken.
There you go. I stand corrected.
You would feel better.
Yep.
All right.
And Guy, your example gave me a mental picture of Pip riding a Zorg.
Yeah. Couple more stories here, quick ones here. Zoom is actually going to drop support. I can't believe they were still supporting it. they are dropping support for older versions of iOS, and they announced today that iOS 11 and iOS 12 will be gone next month. So you have to have at least iOS 13 or higher to continue to receive Zoom updates starting next month. There's no surprise. I mean, iOS 11 was released in 2017, 12 was released in 2018. So I guess they wanted to keep holding on to this as long as they could. So people, upgrade your devices. That's all I got to say. If you have to be holding on to that. So finally, a new story here is Apple Pay Later is now going to actually show up on your credit reports. I guess apparently it didn't when it first came out. If anybody isn't familiar with Apple Pay Later, it was a buy now and pay later loan service that had information reflected in Experian credit reports. But until now, it was used as a short-term buy now, pay later, or for payment loan, such as those available through many other services and Apple Pay as well. And these loans were not reflected on your credit report, but that's going to change. So it just started yesterday. So we record here that anything borrowed onward will appear on your Experian credit report, and it'll have the buy now, pay later designation. So be aware of that. If you are using this, it's definitely something that some people like to utilize. It's not something I would utilize since I've got pretty good credit and plenty of credit cards that I can put on as interest free and all that fun stuff.
And then I pay everything off every month.
And you pay it off, right? So, lastly, I want to talk a little bit about some of the ways you could be ruining your iPhone. I thought this story was interesting, and wanted to just kind of go over some of the things of the 10 things that are out there that allows you that you could be doing what you're ruining the phone. I agree with many of these, but some of these are kind of half baked. But so number 10 was you're using the wrong accessories. So some of us do spend a lot of time on iPhone, spend less on iPhone accessories as we believe that aren't important, and unfortunately, you could be ruining in that, and it's further from the truth. So what I'm saying is, don't use these gas station plugs. Don't be using.
That's how fires start.
That's how fires start, and also they're inefficient. Apple does have an M5 made for iPhone program, and you want to make sure that the connectors are always certified M5 by Apple. So don't go to Walgreens and buy those crappy things they have sitting on the quickie stations when you're at the checkout. So that's probably one of the most things are.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Yeah. Anybody has comments?
Yeah, just one thing here. Also, when you're going for any third-party cables or chargers, go for brands that are well reviewed and tested,
like Anchor or something like that.
Yeah, Anchor, that type of thing. Just because they say they're MFI on Amazon or some other site,
or at the gas station.
The gas station.
Yeah, at the gas station. That doesn't mean they actually are.
Yeah. So be aware of that. And the other thing they say is using your iPhone while it's charging. Having to wait to use your phone while it's charging doesn't sound appealing to anyone, but what's worse, you're ruining your iPhone's battery, they're saying. Whenever you charge your iPhone, you need to use it very lightly or even leave it alone as much as possible, because when you use it starts
that.
I don't know if I agree this one. Because I mean, many of us, like I know family members have external batteries that they put on they hold with their iPhones to charge them and use them at the same time. So this one, I don't think I kind of agree with. Go ahead, Jeff. And I know you had an opinion on this.
No, I don't agree with this one at all. And considering all of the technology Apple has developed to help improve and maintain battery life,
right?
If you have stuff to do and you want to plug your phone in while you do it, then do it. Also, how are you supposed to use your iPhone for navigation in the car,
right,
if you don't have it plugged in? Because that's how you're going to do it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
So
3 words: car play.
Exactly.
Yep.
So yeah, I'm kind of skeptical about this when it comes to that. And I agree with that when it comes to this. So now a lot of people say, are you keeping your battery healthy? Do you fully charge your phone and let it fully drain? Some people do, some people don't. That's why we have that new feature called optimized battery charging, where it learns your charging patterns and uses the 80% mark. Are you guys using that optimum battery charging?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep.
Turned it on as soon as it was available.
Yeah. So that
on every single device.
It is giving you some good options as far as making sure that you use the battery properly. So, but there are times a lot of people they let the battery charge all the way down. I can say family members here are using their phones all the time, and it goes, my phone died, because you're using it too much, probably. Anything else. So important to do that as far as that goes. A couple other things I'll mention is like, you're not cleaning your iPhone properly, or are you even cleaning it at all? Make sure you use good wipes that you're wiping it with. You got to use the Apple polishing cloth, so you got to buy that. So that's important. But I'm just kidding. But yeah, just keep your phone clean, because if you're not cleaning it, there's a lot of bacteria can build up if you're not, and you're putting a lot of germs, and people are eating food and touching it and all that stuff. So important to call that. You guys agree with these?
I agree with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, clean your phone every now and
which
then.
remind me.
Yeah. Don't use Clorox wipes on your phone.
No.
Yeah.
Even though it says right here in this little article, use Clorox wipes, followed by don't use bleach or hydrogen peroxide.
Right.
Clorox wipes, bleach. Hello.
Yeah, it's toxic. A couple other things I'll mention is you're keeping your iPhone storage too full. I mean, I don't think we have that problem really more that nowadays, because I think most people these days have at least 64 gigs of space on their iPhone, don't you think, at this point? Or maybe even 128 for that matter. But just be aware, don't let your space run out, because it's going to really slow down the performance of your iPhone a little bit.
Yeah, but it won't ruin your phone.
It won't ruin it.
Your phone's just potentially slower.
It's going to slow it down, and
and
you're going to be unhappy with not having space to store anything, and your photos won't store.
Yeah, so it's going to ruin your afternoon, not your phone.
Yeah. All my pictures of Clorox bleach gone. If I'm
right,
that's right.
A travesty.
Yeah, exactly. And lastly, I say is so important that you're not keeping your phone up to date. People, please.
Oh my God.
I hate when I see that little number 1 next to settings and you let it sit there and don't update your phone. I mean, Apple releases it for a reason.
Me insane.
Yeah. So it really does. It is really annoying when you let. I mean, I see that all the time, and people have all their red numbers. Not even the settings icon, the apps themselves. And I've got 50 messages sitting on my in my WhatsApp, and because I never check it. So, but
it's a lot of spam,
pretty much. So yeah, please, people, update your phones to the latest versions of iOS. It's so important. Other reason that would be on there too is like if you haven't backed up your iPhone in quite a while, and those you who are too cheap to pay for iCloud with the 5 gig plan, come on, people, just pay $1 a month, and you get 50 gigs of storage, and at least give you a good space so that you can back up your phone. For that matter, 50 gigs is going to be pretty sufficient for most people.
50 gigs never hurt anyone.
Yeah. Only costs you $1 a month. So.
Yeah. I mean, you get like an insane amount of data for $10 a month.
Right. Go with 200 gigs. Then you get a good deal with that on iCloud.
Mm-hmm.
But iCloud makes it so much easier. You don't have to, you could do it on Dropbox or OneDrive or, Google Drive or whatever those, but it's extra work. You got to get it to back up to those services. Well, why not on an iPhone?
Well, as an example, my phone recently had a runaway process that was just making the battery drain like crazy, and took it to the Apple store. They couldn't find what the exact process was, or what why the battery was draining so quickly. So the next step was, well, let's just wipe the phone and start over. And you're using iCloud, right? And it was like, yeah.
So Windows.
Yeah. And so they wiped the phone, and within 45 minutes to an hour after I walked out of the store, everything was back on the phone the way it was supposed to, and it was working great.
Yeah. No, I agree with that. And I think we have a show title, Wipe Your Phone, It's Windows. So I'm going to make sure I note that so I don't forget. We got to have some good show titles here. So yeah, no, I definitely agree with that. Yeah. I mean, it's so annoying to wipe iPhone because you got so much extra work after that to get it back to the way you want it. But so just be aware of getting your updates done so it isn't messed up. So
be kind, rewind.
That too. So with
Bold.
that, very bold. With that, I think we are here to wrap up the show. Thanks to all of you for being here this week. We had just a great show, a lot of great content, and we're going to go ahead and wrap up. So that's a wrap for this week. Please send your comments, questions, and suggestions to our email address, which is feedback@intouchwithios.com. You can follow us on Mastodon at intouchwithios, at techhangout.social. Support the show by buying me a coffee at intouchwithios.com/coffee. We would really appreciate it. You can become a patron of the show by going to patreon.com/intouchwithios. We have 2 tiers available to support the show, but we would really appreciate it. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe so you're notified when we are live streaming on Thursday nights at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, 5 p.m. Pacific on our YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/intouchwithios. And I will thank Cletus that was in the chat, and Webb, and many others that were out there. Thank you for being here this week. And we are going to have all the live streams that we record live, as well as all the shows, the audio portions of the show is on YouTube as well. Just to go check that out. Visit In Touch with iOS magazine on Flipboard, where many of the topics we discuss are flipped into that magazine. Please click the link in our show notes. You can subscribe to the show in your favorite podcatcher, including podcasts, Pocket Casts, Overcast, Apple Podcasts, and many others. But better yet, just go to our website, intouchwithios.com, where all the links to all the ways to listen to us is on our website. I am Dave Ginsburg, and you can find me on Mastodon at DaveD65 and Mastodon.cloud. And Guy Serle, thank you for being here. We always love having you.
Great.
And where can people find you?
Well, you can usually find me every weekend recording a podcast with Gaz, the mymac.com podcast. Been doing that for a little while. You can also get a hold of me by sending me an email through the email client of your choice, and that would be guy@mymac.com. You can find me over on the X, Twitter, whatever those things are now. Mac Parrot and Vert Shark. I'm also on Counter Social and Mastodon.social as Mac Parrot. And we have a Google Voice number you can call and just leave anything that you want. And if you curse a lot, you make a lot of extra work for me, so don't do that. And that number is 703-828-4677. There's a guy named Marcus who does it quite often, and it really takes me a lot of time to go through and go, oh, God. Okay, no. And then bring over the little bitty eep sound so that it kind of goes over it. So much fun. But we have a good time over there. Oh, also, almost forgot, Vert Shark, the vertshark.com website, as well as Vert Shark over on the Tubes of You, and the revamped and pretty much the same as it was before, Guy's Daily Drive, that I'm going to try to do at least twice a week. So it's not every day, but I am driving. So
yes, you are. Be safe. Drive safely.
Always.
And
like
thank you, Guy. You're pretty... Okay, Granny. Thanks, Guy. And Ben Roethig, thank you for being here. Where can people find you?
Well, Dave, you can find me at Ben Roethig on the social media of your choice. You can find me at roethig.tech for my writings. On Tuesday, you can find me on Mac Voices with Mr. Chuck Joyner. On most Thursdays and Fridays, you can find me on the Big and Mac shows on the British Tech Network. And of course, every Thursday, you can find me here on In Touch with iOS Pittsburgh.
Thanks, Ben. Jeff Gamet, as always, a thrill to always have you here. Where can people find you?
It's seriously a treat to get to hang out with you, so thank you. Yeah. Okay. Where can you find me? How about Jay Gamet on social media? All of them. I'm active on Mastodon, Instagram, and Threads. Then shows. Chuck Joyner lets me join in on Mac Voices Live on Tuesdays. Dave lets me join in here on In Touch with iOS on Thursdays. Then on the British Tech Network, Thursdays, the Mac Show. Thursdays, the Big Show. Fridays, the Mac Show. Mark the date on the calendar. I actually caught that I was doing it wrong. Wow. Also, Brian Chaffin and I do the Context Machine, and then I show up on other people's shows every now and then too.
All right. Thank you, Jeff. We appreciate it. And thank you for listening. We really enjoyed doing the show, and I hope you enjoyed listening to it. And until next time, we'll talk again soon.